stories glow. Palm lantern ignite, where the tales will flow. Whispers of the night, under moonlit skies. Every word so bright, in your mind it lies. Palm lantern light guides you through the night. Every tale in sight makes your heart ignite.
In the heart of Kambala, a small but hopeful state in West Africa, the people had waited for years for a promise that never materialized. Kambala, once filled with natural resources like gold, crude oil, and lush vegetation, now seemed like a desert. Past governors were ridden by kleptocracy. In the past, the kleptocracy of leaders was not obvious, because the resources were abundant and the global economy was relatively strong. But basic amenities, like electricity, water, good roads, good schools, and healthcare, were only accessible to the wealthy. The poor looked up to heaven for these things. The diversity of the state made it even worse. The people could never agree on one thing. The governors were appointed based on ethnicity rather than ability, even among different ethnic groups. The godfathers appointed the dullest of the pack, because they were easier to control. The people were fed up and prayed for a new governor, but they couldn't rise above their ethnicity bias. Chief Bayo Adio, who belonged to one of the major ethnic groups, was elected, or should we say, selected. The election was not free and fair, but as usual, the people accepted their fate and moved on after. He embezzled money, meant for building a healthcare facility for the people of Kambala, the money he couldn't say or write in figure. Because of his intellectual incompetency, when he was summoned by the House of Assembly members to defend the missing money from the budget, he claimed the money was stolen by a snake. The people reacted on the internet, and the issue died a natural cause without any action from the people. Mr. Koko was a headmaster working in one of Kambala's public schools. He had a son and a daughter. He tried to take good care of them. But due to Chief Bayo's embezzlement of public funds, salaries were not paid regularly. Mr. Koko and his colleagues were working for the states, but the governor was riding on their sweats. His daughter, Beatrice, was 16 years old in her final years in a boarding secondary school. She was a beautiful girl who desired the good things of life. Her parents could not afford. Her mother, who was a petty trader, depended mostly on her father's salary that needed fasting and prayers to get released from the government. Her father tried to instill good values in her, but Kambala as a society worshipped wealth. Sources of wealth were never a question. Beatrice lied to everyone that her parents were top politicians and that they traveled to Europe for summer vacation. Everyone was envious of her. She snuck out of school to attend parties with top politicians' children. Her boyfriend was the son of a member of the House of Assembly. She got gifts from him that made her lies at school believable. Meanwhile, corruption in Kambala made police brutality increase. The police targeted everyone, including the innocent ones with no inclination towards crime. The youths who were unemployed and looking for their source of livelihood from every menial job they could find were the targets of the police. The police stopped the youths on every road in the state, searching their bags and extorting money from them. The youths that resisted were injured badly or killed on the spot. The youths were fed up and attempted a nationwide protest, but the corny leaders paid thugs who infiltrated the protest and turned it into a battlefield. They stole from houses and shops. They fought with security agents. Chief Bayo used the activities of the planted thugs as a justification to attack the people. They launched tear gas on the people and shot into the crowd. International organizations covered up the killings committed by the leaders of Kambala. Developed countries who were members of the international organizations had a lot to benefit from the spoils of Kambala. They had unlimited access to their resources through the hands of the visionless leaders. A year after this incident, a pandemic struck that kept the world at a standstill. There was a lockdown for more than 6 months. There were inter-country wars among countries, and inflation was on the rise. Chief Bayo's 2-time tenure was coming to an end. The people thought they had time on their hands, but for every bad leader elected, 8 years were gone. Coco was on her way to 24, with 8 years wasted. Children who were 10 years old were on their way to 18. The inflation around the world was affecting Kambala terribly. The exchange rate made exportation impossible. The lands were there, but the insecurity in the land made farming unappealing to the people. It looked like the people were praying, but heaven was closed. They were excited when Professor Bako was on the ballot. He was charismatic, well-spoken, and full of grand visions. His past achievements spoke for him. He was an excellent professor of economics. He granted several interviews where he dissected Kambala's problems. The people were hopeful for the first time. He vowed to transform their lives, his most significant promise being a pipe-borne water project, an end to the daily struggle of fetching water from the contaminated Obiro River. Professor Bako had everything working in his favor. He came from the ethnic group that was next in line for the gubernatorial seat. He was elected as the next governor of Kambala State. It took the professor a year to select members of his cabinet. The people were patient. Selecting the best hands needed time, they said, as an excuse for the professor. During Governor Bako's tenure, the state received a $100 million loan from an international financial institution, specifically earmarked for this water plant. The people kept waiting, and Governor Bako kept promising. The moment the funds were transferred to the state treasury, all the godfathers and members of Professor Bako cabals saw an opportunity to replenish election funds and enrich themselves. The people were surprised to hear rumors that Professor Bako flew to Dubai, not for government meetings, but for extravagant parties in his newly acquired private yacht. A 26-year-old, Beatrice had mastered the art of seducing top politicians and company executives. She graduated from the Department of Theater Arts at the University of Kambala. She bribed her way through school. Even as an undergraduate student, she was already driving a Lamborghini. She acquired properties all over Kambala. She was a popular people worshipped her and her wealth. She has gone under the knife to perform a Brazilian butt lift. Her skin was like caramel. Young boys on campus wanted her, but they were out of her reach. Some of them were willing to go into cyber frauds to acquire wealth to please her. She was the side chick of Governor Bako. It was an open secret. Bako relocated his wife and 3 children to a developed country. His children attended the best schools. Beatrice accompanied Bako to Dubai, filled with expensive champagne, exotic foods, and the lifestyle. Leaders from surrounding countries were also at the party in the yacht. They all came with top escorts, models from Europe, and high-class mistresses who drained their accounts as quickly as they looted the national treasury. Bako spent millions on a Rolls-Royce for Beatrice. He bought her a mansion on Plantain Island, a home to the most luxurious properties in Kambala. Beatrice posted on social media telling people to hustle hard, telling young girls that she is a made woman. She even prided herself as a small girl with a big god. The people were surprised to see Beatrice launch her oil company. Rumor had it that Bako gifted Beatrice an oil well. She was listed as one of the top 30 women under Senlin in a popular global magazine. In no time, Beatrice was the richest woman in Kambala. She had opened many other companies, including a beauty company and real estate company. Meanwhile, the people of Kambala were sinking in poverty. Funds were misappropriated, inflation was biting hard, and leaders were visionless. They embezzled money to fund their reckless lifestyle. Every young girl aspired to be a Beatrice. The people from the rural part of Kambala had no access to clean water. Their only source of water was a cholera-infested river, Obiro River. Bako's closest aides tried drawing his attention to the plight of these people. "Chief, the people of Iko and Iba villages have no access to clean water." But Bako would laugh. "Do they think I am their father? Let them drink what they find." He silenced his officials with bribes, and his opponents mysteriously disappeared. Anyone who spoke against him was either bought or buried. By the time the villagers realized the water plant that Governor Bako promised them was a scam, it was too late. The Oboro River, their only water source, had become a breeding ground for disease. The children, the most vulnerable, were the first to suffer. One by one, they fell sick. Initially, they experienced stomach aches and fevers. Soon, vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration followed. Underfunded and ill-equipped hospitals could not handle the cholera outbreak. Within weeks, dozens of children died. The village elders begged for help, but no one listened. The state government continued to say, "Help is coming," but help never arrived. They were surprised to hear that Governor Bak donated to the victims of a hurricane in one of the developed countries. But help never came their way. Mothers buried their children with tears in their eyes, cursing the name of Professor Adisa Bako. As international media reported the tragedy, pressure mounted. Protests erupted across Kampala. The people, once loyal to their governor, now demanded his accountability. Fearing for his life, Chief Bako attempted to flee the country. He booked a one-way ticket to the same country where his family lived, planning to retire in luxury with his stolen millions. But the people had other plans. At the airport, an angry mob surrounded him. The police, weary of his corruption, did not intervene. He was dragged through the streets, forced to walk through the very villages he had abandoned. As he passed the grieving families, mothers threw dirt at him, crying, "Where was your money when our children died?" The final blow came when his own bodyguards abandoned him. The state's assembly, eager to salvage its reputation, stripped him of his title. In the end, Professor Adisa Bako was arrested, but justice was not served. His closest friend was the judge, and acquitted him of every charge. He was a free man. The people of Kampala still struggle to this day. To date, no great leader has emerged. After 20 years, Professor Bako wrote a book, exonerating himself from the evil he did when he was in power. The people praised him and worshipped him, forgetting his atrocities. The beasts of the nation that Kampala has created lived and still lives with them.
Underneath the stars, worlds begin to